Hello. Sometimes in my therapy work, I find that the same theme comes up some weeks with all of my clients. And I find that interesting and kind of miraculous because it seems that the universe or the great beyond is sending affirmation maybe about the same inner work to do because it's a really good time in the evolution of humanity for that work to be being done. And sometimes maybe it's current events that have this unconscious impact on us. Doesn't matter. I just have noticed this theme this week and I wanted to share it with a number of you because I find that this is a challenge many people face, myself included, in the past. And it is the challenge of perfectionism. I find that it is often the result of growing up in a certain environment where maybe that was adopted as a coping mechanism to accommodate in an atmosphere of chaos. It's a way of seeking to bring extreme order. I know that's what it was for me. And also a sense of value and personal worth, that if I don't know where I stand with other people and whether I'm of value, then maybe if I do all the things and do them really, really well to an incredibly high standard, I will somehow obtain some kind of worthiness. At the very least, feel that I've done something purposeful that has a positive result or impact. And in and of all of those things, of themselves rather, there's nothing wrong with that until it doesn't serve you well. And it starts to exhaust you and you get run down. You might find that you're irritable. You wonder why people can't kind of hit the bar when you can, and you're doing it all the time, and they almost seem to get maybe less connected or lazier or whatever it is that you feel is happening. And one of the things I've learned over the years, and one of the things we're pondering together in client sessions this week with all of my clients individually, is this idea that being competent somehow both suggests that we ought to step in and intervene and help, and also maybe even entitles us in a weird kind of shadowed way to do that as well. When in point of fact, our definition of helping and supporting that way is skewed. And here's how you'll know it. You start getting aggravated with just about everything and everybody. You might feel low grade to mid grade frustration. Some of my clients even feel the peak of the beginnings of fury and rage because other people just aren't showing up, or they're always having to do all the things and they're tired, they're exhausted, some other key things. You might be getting sick more frequently and you can't figure out why. It seems inexplicable. You're always fatigued, you're always not well. Your body is kind of breaking under the weight of the responsibilities you feel you carry and have to carry, that you're obliged to carry. And this is what I want to just offer as something to ponder. Your ability and your competence is not the same as your capacity. Let me say that again. Your ability and your competence is not the same as your capacity. So let me clarify. You might be able to do all the things and actually have learned how to do all the things very, very well. It does not necessarily mean that you have the bandwidth for all of that. That's capacity. So what I like to encourage people to do is, because sometimes it's not available at first to take a breath. We're so caught up in it that we're just only breathing to here. We're not even getting a deep breath. I like to suggest people just step back for a minute. Just hit the pause button and notice where you are in your body. Is there bracing? Is there shallow breath? Is there maybe, stiffness or ache in the head or the neck area? Are your shoulders up to here? Are you feeling like you have to get ready to bolt or run to aid? Or are you feeling overwhelmed and you're actually holding the stress somewhere locally in your physical body? It's worth taking a minute to check and to feel into what your body experience actually is. When you do that, you will usually find a clue. Some people go very numb. That's your clue. If you can't feel anything in your body, you're probably tapped out. And that needs to be addressed. Some attention must be paid there to shift that, because that isn't a healthy state of being. Oftentimes, I find people will share with me that they feel like they can't get a deep breath. The breathing is always up here. They can't get a really deep breath. And also, people will often share with me that, they feel tension up in their shoulders, their upper back, their neck. There might be frequent headaches or, kind of vague headaches. Some people even get full-blown migraines. Other people will experience low back pain, like they can't stand, or their hip hurts, or a knee hurts, or an ankle hurts. These are clues, and it's helpful to use a symbolizing attitude then. You can see, is that symbolic of something, a message that my body is seeking to share with me about how this is impacting me, how I'm actually capable of handling this? Maybe I don't have the capacity, even though I have lots of skills and competencies and lived experience and a lot of actual insight and knowledge, but it may not be wise for me to step in to that particular situation and offer support because I just don't have the bandwidth required. And that, my friends, is okay. You don't have to have it. If you don't have it, you don't have it. And sometimes us not having the capacity actually gives us space to reset ourselves, to check our relational boundaries and our task boundaries, maybe where we're crossing our own healthy boundaries and getting ourselves in situations where we think we're helping, but it's really taking quite a bit out of us to do it. And we're doing that too consistently. And also to be able to recognize maybe sometimes that is an interruption for the person we're trying to support. But maybe this work of solving their own problem is the very skill and competency that they need experience in developing. And when we step into it, we interrupt their ability to gain capacity and competency themselves. So here's what I want to suggest that you do. Once you've done that body scan and you've given it a little bit of reflective thought, what might this represent for me? And then, take a breath. See if that breath can go just a little bit deeper. And then see if you can hear that little voice inside you that's really speaking your honest truth that says, I want to support you. I'm just at this place where I don't have it to give right now. This is what I can give, and I would love to offer that to you. Maybe it's that you order a really nutritious meal takeout and you actually get it delivered to them, or something creative like that. Decide what you actually have the bandwidth for, and don't overstep your own bounds. Don't overextend and put yourself into a state of unhealth. It's actually not needed. And if we can do that, then we kind of deconstruct this perfectionism and needing to show up in just such a way and to kind of be involved and help control everything. And we actually give people the gift of them being able to develop their abilities and their capacity for problem solving, sometimes also dealing with the consequences of their own choices, and we can still offer compassion without taking it on. And I find this is important as well because there's a lot of my clients who say, well, I'm an empath. Well, that's great. Guess what? Most of us who are actually somewhat healthy, even halfway healthy, have some capacity for empathetic response. But being an empath doesn't mean you have to be slammed by all the energy and emotion of someone else. That isn't empathic. That's just not having healthy psychological boundaries. And sometimes that's the hard medicine to take for ourselves. That's the tough one to swallow. That maybe I'm so feely about everything that I don't know where I end and they begin. And I take on things that really aren't mine to take on. So compassionate stance is one that can come alongside without intervening. It is truly supportive, genuinely honest. You have a regulated nervous system when you're offering that, and then you get clarity about whether to step in, how to step in, to what degree to step in and offer tangible support, and when to step out. And you can clearly communicate that. So instead of racking ourselves with this, I got to do it all and I got to do it perfect, and all these people need me to fill in that space, maybe that's where some of your second guessing would serve you well. So I offer that as encouragement. Perhaps that's a theme that's coming to you at the start of this fire horse energy year. And instead of getting caught up in the momentum that isn't actually yours, maybe give that a thought and decide what kind of fire and passion you really want to have and be motivated in, and what direction that fire horse that maybe you're riding is going in, so that you don't veer off somewhere where it's not meant for you to be. Competence does not necessarily mean capacity. Check your bandwidth, drop into your body, take a breath, consider what might be compassion and what you actually can give at this time, and you're going to feel a lot better, not so exhausted, very centered and grounded, very calm and peaceful, and you're going to be able to share your love inappropriate ways and let people actually figure out what they need to learn at their pace and in their way, knowing that they have your loving support. How about that? You take good care.